Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel Merrily on Time Watch Reviews. I have another Christopher Ward to show you today. This one is the most expensive piece that I have ever handled or had into my channel for review. So my thanks to Alex over at Christopher Ward for reaching out to me and trusting me with this watch. This is the C1 Worldglow, coming up now on this episode of Merrily on Time Watch Reviews. Let's do this. Okay, so let's deal with the basic specifications of this watch as we get up close and personal as well. And I will say right off the top that this is a large watch that is suited for larger wrists. In my opinion, I think the minimum wrist size that you would need to rock this one is 7 inches. And that might be a slight stretch. Certainly under 7 inches, this watch is definitely not going to be for you. And this is because of the larger size of the watch. It's coming in at a 43.5 millimeter case diameter. Now, when you factor in that crown, it is 46.6 millimeters from the 9 to the end of that crown. The lug-to-lug distance on this one is 51 millimeters, and so the watch will cover quite a bit of real estate on the wrist. But there is a nice downturn to the lugs that does help with the comfort and fit of the watch. The case thickness is also helping with wearability. It is only 11.7 millimeters thick, and the lug width is 22 millimeters. You do have a rather large 6.9 millimeter push-pull crown at the 3 o'clock, and as you can see, it is branded with the Christopher Ward logo on the crown. The movement powering this watch is the Swiss automatic Sellita SW330 that has been modified by Christopher Ward, and so in doing that, they have kind of made this an in-house movement, so to speak, by that modification. The movement on its own, without being modded, retails for just about 360 US dollars, well over 400 Canadian dollars. This from the Christopher Ward website. The third of Christopher Ward's JJ calibers, JJ03, in this watch is based on the Sellita SW330, the industry's go-to automatic GMT caliber. Whereas the previous iteration of the JJ03 found in the original C1 Worldtimer re-geared the 2893 to feature airport destinations as a second time zone, the new JJ03 offers a simpler approach. Reverting to 12-hour timing, it powers a 24-hour disc, which is read in conjunction with the international cities around it. Not only did they modify the SW330 in order to accomplish this, making it, as I said, in part an in-house movement, the rotor has also been customized, as you can see on the display case back here, with a customized DLC or diamond-like carbon finishing, and it is engraved as well, and you can see the Christopher Ward branding on the rotor as well. This is a 25 joule 4 hertz movement that beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour, providing a very nice sweeping motion of the seconds hand, which you can see at 8 ticks per second, and this one has a 42-hour power reserve. The stated tolerance for this movement is plus or minus 20 seconds per day, but I am happy to say that this watch that I received is running at negative 2.5 seconds per day as I tracked it using the app Watch Tracker over a period of 8 days. So what Christopher Ward has done is they took the Sellita SW330 and made it their own and made modifications to it to make the watch do what they wanted it to do with that inner rotating ring with the 24-hour markers around it, as well as a really neat radar function that will enable you to track one particular city at a glance. And we will get to how the Worldtimer bezel works and how the radar function works in just a moment. Now, with such an expensive piece, you also expect the following, which you do get with this watch. You do get a nice domed sapphire crystal with AR coating. So there is a slight dome to that crystal. You get a solid stainless steel military grade mesh bracelet with this model as well. And the watch is constructed of surgical grade stainless steel, constructed of the right materials for the price point. You also expect a watch of this price to have great lume, and this watch does not disappoint. I will show you the lume shot now. One of the features of this watch is the Worldglow cutout of the world that they have on the dial, which is also lumed, and the lume that is used is Super Luminova SLN C1 X1BL. So as you saw in the time lapse, you could see that the 24-hour markers on that rotating inner ring do disappear fairly quickly. At the 5 to 10 minute mark, the hour and minute hand stay strong. In fact, the hour and minute hand stay strong throughout the lume shot on this video, and after 20 minutes you can still very clearly see the hour and minute hand. So this in fact does have fantastic lume that will last the night. The watch does not have a good water resistance rating, which is one of the big disappointments that I have. At only 3 atmospheres or 30 meters, this watch is not suitable to wear in the water, and this is a big deal for me. The reason it's such a big deal is because when I'm at the beach or at the pool, I wouldn't want to take off this watch in order to go swimming, because this watch retails for over $3,000. And so for me to take off this watch while I go into the water, I would be very uncomfortable having this sit around and be potentially subject to someone stealing it or getting away with the watch while I'm in the water. And so I wish that this had 100 meters of water resistance so that I wouldn't have to worry about taking it off while I'm at the pool or at the beach and making sure it stays safely on my wrist. So let's talk about this bracelet for a moment. This is a very, very nice stainless steel mesh bracelet. It actually is 3.5 millimeters thick. This thing definitely has some heft to it. It feels quality. It is quality. And in fact, on the Christopher Ward website, they list this, if you want to just buy this bracelet individually, it's listed at $280 Canadian. And while I do think that is a little bit high, to get the same quality of bracelet somewhere else, you're easily going to pay well over $100. And so there is another factor in the price of this watch, is the quality of materials being used. The bracelet features a really nice double deployant butterfly clasp at the back, and it will be and can be adjusted with these little links at the end of the mesh bracelet. And so I'll just close it, and you can see it just looks really nice and seamless. These links are about 4.5 millimeters wide. On a traditional stainless steel bracelet, you would consider those half links, and you will be able to get a really nice and comfortable fit with the bracelet as a result of these half links, if you will, at the end of the bracelet. They're finished in a nice high polish and just give the bracelet a great look as well. So this is really a very good and very quality bracelet, that's for sure. So let's talk about the fit and finish on the case and the case design. It's absolutely head and shoulders better above anything that I have had or seen, and it is what you would expect at this price point. So let me just show you this side profile. There's some wonderful bevel and curvature. There's a beveled edge there that is polished really nicely and finely brushed on the side of the case, so much so that you just get a really nice satin finish to the case. You can't even see the lines. It's just so well done. As you round to the top of the lugs, you have a nice polish on the top of the lugs as well, and there is a nice polished bezel. Again, it's beveled, and so it has a step to it, if you will. Nicely done, nicely layered. My friend Ross at P. Ross YouTube channel suggested that I kind of compare this and the finishing of this to like a Seiko 5, just to get an idea of how superior the fit and finish of a watch like this is, and he is absolutely right on the money. I mean, this is really just fantastic as far as the fit and finish is concerned. So let's get into this dial and we'll work our way from the outside to the inside. On the inside you can see that there is a polished metal rehaut. Actually, that's probably just the other side of this fixed outer ring that is on the watch where the crystal goes into. And then you do have a minute track printed around the outside, which we will get to in a moment. Just above that minute track you have a white ring, which you saw on the Lume shot. Does have Lume on it, although it doesn't last very long. That particular ring of Lume doesn't last very long. And then as you continue inside, you can see that you have the major cities of the world that are listed around the dial of the watch, and this will enable you, when you set the watch properly to your home city, see what time it is in other major cities of the world and other time zones of the world. You can see that my watch is set right now. It is just about 10, well, it is 25 to 11, so I'm going on New York time. You can see it's almost 11 at New York. Then at a quick glance you can see it's going to be almost 1600 hours in London, or 4 p.m., almost 5 in Paris, almost 7 in Moscow. So at a quick glance you can see what time it is in the other major cities of the world, and so that is really neat. So as we continue to move inward, you can see that after the cities that go around the dial, you have the 24-hour GMT ring, which they modified the Salida movement to make sure it moves and tracks along with the cities. And so right now you can see I'm in Eastern Time Zone, or New York, and it is approaching 11 a.m. The only city that is in a different color is London, down here printed in red, and you can see it's almost at 1600 hours, or 4 p.m., almost 5 p.m. in Paris, almost 7 p.m. in Moscow, so on and so forth. And the neat thing about this is as the time advances around the dial, that ring will rotate clockwise and will track time, and we'll show you that in just a minute. Then you have another white ring which is loomed on the inside of that dial, and then the really neat feature of this watch is this radar-like, looks like a radar screen on the inner part of the dial. You do have Christopher Ward printed there at the 12 o'clock above the pinion. Of course, you saw that the world is loomed. It's cut out of this matte black dial. I think personally this kind of looks like North America and Mexico swinging down here, but I'm not sure if that's what they were going for. And of course it is all loomed, and it looks really, really cool under the loom. And so that's the dial, guys. And then you have this radar thing on the bottom to go along with the radar motif, the red radar strip, that you can set to any of the cities that you want. So at a quick glance you can see what time it is very quickly and very easily. So let me show you how to properly set your watch so that you can track all the time zones correctly. The first thing you want to do is you want to set the watch to your time. And so for our purposes, I'm going to say it's close to 11 a.m. And so what you want to do is you want to set your watch right on the top of the hour. That's what you want to do first, and there's an important reason for that, because you can see the GMT ring does move around. So I think it's better to set it at the top of the hour that you were dealing with. So in my case it's almost 11 o'clock, so I'm going to set that at 10 o'clock. Push the crown in. Now when you pull the crown out to the first position, by rotating the crown clockwise, you will be able to adjust the inner ring. So there you can see it's snapping forward now. And so in my case, I want to set the watch to 10 a.m. at the New York spot, because I am in New York. So I'm going to advance this until it says 10 a.m. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and there we go, 10. So now that my time zone is correctly entered, I can now set the time precisely. And so I would pull out the crown and set it for, it is about 10 to 11 right now. So let's just do that. I'll pull the crown out and I'll set it to about 10 to 11. There we go. And now what you can do is you can pull the crown out to the first position, and you can use the radar function by turning the crown clockwise now. and you can rotate that to one of the cities that you desire as far as tracking a time zone. And so let's say you wanted to know what time it was at a quick glance in Tokyo. You would rotate that until it appears at the Tokyo at the 1, push it in, and now you are good to go. And so when I pull the crown out again, as you can see as it advances forward, it's going to show you what time it is in Tokyo. And obviously you're going to know what time it is based on the hour and minute hand on the dial. And as it rotates around, you can see what time it is around other parts of the world as well. Really, really, really cool feature of this watch, that GMT ring that tracks around. Absolutely amazing. And here's what the watch looks like again on my 7.5-inch wrist. And you can see that on my wrist, it does cover quite a bit of real estate because of the size and dimensions of the watch, but there is, as I said, a nice downturn to the lug. It really hugs my wrist quite nicely. And so this, guys, is just an absolutely beautiful, beautiful watch. Absolutely love it. There are some things, though, that I think could be made better on this watch, which I will discuss now as we come to a close. So no question, guys, this is a really fantastic and beautiful watch, but there are a few things that I would do and changes that I would make, or things that I would have liked to have seen on this watch. Obviously, you saw earlier that it only has 3 atmospheres of water resistance. That is a huge bummer to me. I wish it had 100 meters of water resistance. And I do think they could have done a much better job at making this dial a little bit more legible. Rather than having that outer white ring on the dial that essentially doesn't loom very long anyways, I think if they eliminated that and made the minute markers that go around that dial a little bit bigger, especially the 5-minute intervals around the dial, and those minute markers make them a bit bigger and bolder, it would have made legibility a little bit better in this case as well. And so I think that could be improved upon if they make new additions, or even if they don't, that's something that I definitely wanted to see done differently. I do think that the crystal that they chose to use on this watch was the wrong kind of crystal. I think they should have went with a flat sapphire crystal. And the reason for that is because at a glance of the watch, and when you see this for the first time, you can't unsee it. The minute hand on the watch at the very end, because of the curvature of the dial and just the way that that minute hand looks through the curved dome on this crystal, the minute hand looks bent at the tip. I'll show it to you in a close-up here now. And again, once you see that, you can't unsee that. And so I think if they had have went with a flat sapphire crystal on this watch, it would have been a lot better for sure. The last improvement I would make on this is the Lume. Now, the Lume is great, as mentioned earlier, but the 24-hour GMT ring on this watch, the Lume on the numerals there, does not last very long at all. I wish that it had stayed along with the hour and minute hand for the duration. A little more Lume applied to the chapter ring for that GMT would have been great, given that you have the ability to track the time zone in a different city. Having those stay loomed through the duration of the Lume is something that I think would have added to the legibility of the watch. But those are the things that I think, guys. What do you think about this Christopher Ward C1 Worldglow? Let me know in the comments below. Really love interacting with you and the feedback that I get from my viewers. And thank you so much again for tuning in to another Merely on Time watch reviews. And remember, guys, whenever you leave your house, you must have a great looking watch to wear on your wrist, like this Worldglow by Christopher Ward. And remember, wherever you're going, you need to get there on time. Thanks so much, everybody. God bless you. We'll see you in the next video.